doing is we're beginning to grow and develop these muscles. And trying to get this, again, like the San Antonio Spurs, where this is instinct. Instinct kicks in. And you become naturally cognizant and aware of the fact when you have these gaps in your knowledge of somebody's outside triangle. And that's an invitation to go ahead and find out a little bit more. And then what we do is with that first step, that outside, we begin to open ourselves, them, the organization up to this great invitation for these breakthrough results, to be a transformative type of organization, to bring breakthrough these wonderful things. All right, so let's do this. You went, you had this meeting, okay? So now as you look down on those pages, 110, 111, for those of us and others, if you remember, you've got the meet to learn and give. What have I learned? If you haven't already filled that part in, go ahead and just fill in that section, just some of the things that you learned from that meeting. And have you noticed that sometimes the things that you learn about an individual aren't necessarily always the things that come out of their mouth? See that? Sometimes it's just in the course of the conversation, you notice the tone, you notice body language. It's not always even just the stuff that comes out of another individual's mouth. As you become really sensitive and alive to their outside triangles, you start to become aware of all the different types of communication. You really begin to inform yourself. Your action plan. Carry out this outside inside. Outside, inside, out. So here what we're kind of doing is going through the second part. Okay, so the outside again. We explore, we get really curious, understand those outside triangles. Inside we come back, we think about ways that we could make a difference, that we could helpful? I did. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Just yell at me, Gwen. Come on. You heard me so polite. I'm getting this. I thought it was like, all right, we need to listen up. It was when Michelle came in with the same thing, and I realized they're not synchronized. Oh, that might be telling me something. Okay. I thought I missed. There's some music down there. Okay. Thank you, Gwen. We're good. Appreciate it. So we come back inside, and this is the part where we think, all right, what can I really do? How can I make a positive impact? Can I get out of the way? Can I be helpful? This is the part where we try to be really, really helpful. Okay. The next phase of this, the next part of this, is MTG, which we typically see as an abbreviation for what? Meeting, right? In this instance, it's actually an acronym. It means meet to give. Now, the idea here is that most meetings we have, if you think about it, they're meet to gets, right? We go in, we go to get informed, we go to make assignments, and get people to accept responsibility, whatever it might be. These are meetings that are particular to this outside, inside out process, and they're meant solely to allow us the opportunity to meet to give. This is where we sit down with them and we go back, all right? So we collect this information, we go back now. So you know what, I've been thinking about our conversation, and I really appreciate everything you told me, and I've had a chance to really kind of digest it, think about it, and I'm seeing some ways that I can probably be more help. Now, probably some of these things occur to you while you're in that conversation. In fact, you might have actually already started to go there in that conversation, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong also with taking a little bit of time away and really thinking about things and reflecting on them. And so the meet to give is the next part of this. We go outside, we do inside, and we go back out. And that's where we sit down and say, hey, I'd really like to, this is what I'm proposing. Based on our conversation, it looks like I might be able to do this. Would that be helpful? Would that be helpful? That's always the way you want to end that, okay? Would that be helpful? And we go back. Now at this point, we're not going to have you go back to the individual. We typically do. So these things can kind of go on for a while. People are jumping around. They're going all over the place. We're going to kind of move on at this point. But that meet to give, and I actually wrote this down because at the end of the day when you get finished there, I'm going to challenge you again. I'm going to invite you to follow through on that meet to give. The things that you've written down, to go back to that individual and meet to give. These are the things that I've been thinking about. Can you imagine what that would be like to be on the other side of that? Of course, you haven't been in this workshop, and I love the fact, by the way, that some of you are pairing up here. That's exactly what should be happening. And then others outside, it's just fine as well. But can you imagine, just in an environment where you're having people that are just popping in from time to time, saying, hey, I've been thinking a lot about what it is that you do here. And the more I was thinking about it, I realized the way I carry this out, this might actually be impacting you. And so I've been trying to think of a way that I could be a little bit more helpful there. And I'm proposing this. What do you think? Would that be helpful? What would it be like to have a conversation like that? What would it be like if you didn't know anything about this workshop to have that person come into your office and say something like that? What does that invite in you? What does that invite? If you're the one that's on the receiving end of that meeting deal, what does it invite?
It's good and then reciprocation tip, like, what can I do to help you as well?
Yeah. And I think there might be some hesitation to say it might be reciprocated because, of course, then we feel like, well, then there's not the reason we went into the first place, and so now we're all outsmarting ourselves, right?
Or like, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Given these trick questions, all right, where's the mental judo in that question, right?
It's more of a sense of teamwork that makes me want to ask the same question.
As you go through these things, Jeff, as you think through these things, as you begin to do these things automatically, do you notice how this is all part of making things go right? You realize you begin to limit the possibilities for miscommunication and misunderstanding. Think about this for a second. Emails, great communication. Texts, great sort of communication. But are there dangers to those forms of communication? What are the dangers?
Tone.
Yeah, there's so much missing. It's so single-dimensional. You lose the full spectrum of color that would come out of a face-to-face conversation, right? Now, similarly, if my relationship with an individual is entirely predicated on my inside triangle and my needs, it's a very narrow relationship. And there's all kinds of potential for misunderstandings, for problems, whatever else that could come out of that. So when we're actually doing this outside, inside out, we're broadening the horizon of our understanding of that individual. We're lessening the possibilities for misunderstandings and problems, and we're increasing the likelihood of collaboration, innovation, accountability. Okay? So again, outside, inside out. get so you are tired here. We're going to say it so many more times. All right, outside, inside out. All right, let's move on. So again, I'll challenge you. I'll invite you at the very end today to remember that need to give. Okay? And again, you know, it's one thing to learn something, it's another to apply it, and then it's still another to sustain it. And we're going to talk about that here next section. Okay? All right. So the template. So before we talk about the template, outside, inside out, as it pertains to my job. So now we're talking about the template, outside, outs, as it pertains to collaboration. It's simple. Number one, create time and space to understand others' objectives and challenges. In just a second, just ignore the page number. In a second, we're going to go somewhere in your booklet and find some fascinating information. See, now it's like a mystery, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I really want to know what's there, but I don't know because those page numbers are useless. Okay. All right, create time and space to understand others' objectives and challenges. This is both individually as well as organization. So this is one of those things that don't just put off on the organization, wait for the organization to create time and space. You in your own role create time and space for this kind of an activity. Okay, so that's the outside. Again, learning those outside triangles. Number two, identify ways that I can help others with their objectives and need to give. Okay? So now I'm starting to go back out here. Need to give. I'm going back out, so I come inside, I figure those things out, and then I go on to need to give. And the out is to follow up to make sure that my efforts have been helpful, remain open to continued changes, and increase my helpfulness. Outside, inside, out, as it pertains to collaboration. If we all follow these steps within an organization, would it become more collaborative?
I have to just throw something out. We, as one of our core values, we added collaboration as a core value of this organization. And when we talked about it, it was really because we do really well with collaborating outside the organization. This is really kind of interesting because it's really focused within and how we really need to strengthen that. So it lines really nicely. It just made me think about it, looking at that.
It's, you know, what's interesting about that is, see again, you know, if you get somebody that's really good at something, they can run. But this is why sometimes the best basketball players are not good coaches. Okay, they're so good at something, it comes so naturally to them. It's like Michael Jordan trying to teach another person how to dunk from the free throw line.